What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chris Konya Show. This episode of the podcast is brought to you by, it's pretty simple, the Rochester Podcast Network. We are beginning to accept advertisers here in 2020. If you own a small business or a brand that you're trying to promote, please reach out to us at Rochester Podcast Network at gmail.com. Rochester Podcast Network at gmail.com. Your budget should be in between $100 and $5,000. We can get into more detail after you send the email. Today's guest is none other than Jimmy Z. He is a staple of Brockport, New York, which is a big college town in Western New York if you're not from the area. He owns a very successful restaurant. He has a great attitude about life, and he's on the show today, and I'm so excited to meet him for the first time. We talk about everything from his story, business, sobriety, ambition, goals, self-awareness, stuff like that. It's a real fun episode to listen to, and a real good introduction of Jimmy Z to the podcast audience. So thank you so much for watching and listening. And without further ado, my friend, Jimmy Z. I'm very excited for my guest today. I don't think we've ever officially met / hung out in person. I know we haven't hung out, but we talk on social media. I've heard you on Radio 95.1 and stuff when they do your spots for your place and when you're on the show. But Jimmy Z.
Thanks, man.
What's
Thanks
going
for
on?
having me. Yeah, it's a pleasure meeting you. And same. Definitely, I've been seeing a little bit of your work on social media also since we've connected. Facebook, Twitter, all that good jazz.
Heck yeah. Before we start, and I forget, Jimmy Z's Plates and Shakes. I've passed the place in Brockport. I should have stopped, and I kick myself for not stopping the few times I'm in Brockport. But what's the address out there?
53 Main Street, Brockport. We're right on the main strip, on the same block as the legendary Strand movie theater. Yeah, okay. And a couple blocks from the canal.
I'll tell you what, I've had your food before when you did the food truck outside of Joey's a couple of years ago.
Yes, yeah, we did Joey's. That was one of our first seasons with the truck, and I know that they had just picked up the bar too. So we had fun doing that.
And I forget what it is, but I'm not a guy who is a connoisseur by any means. I know I have my favorite restaurants and stuff like that, but
sure.
And my favorite plates, but that easily was the best plate I've ever had out of a truck, and that's not just putting that into that category. It was extremely well. I mean, when did you know that you wanted to go to the food business, restaurant business, and then choose something like that?
Well, the food business was inherited. My father was in diners, and this is the Jimmy Z's itself was the seventh attempt in the restaurant business for the family,
Really?
But it happened to be the first one where I was of age and I had a plan, and I took the family history and I made it part of my plan, and I've always had a plan of making sure that the family business was successful like it was once one day, in the late 80s and 90s, Pops was pretty successful, and things just didn't work out, and my number one goal throughout all that heartache was to, when I came of age, it was never some master plan. It kind of it fizzled in and fizzled out from when I was a younger kid, like when it really happened. And here I am, what am I, 13 or not even 13? I'm like 8 or 9. And I'm like, I'm going to open up the restaurant back up, all this stuff that you just always want, family pride,
Sure.
And, but then I had this idea, and the rest was all history. And the difference between what we have now and what we had before is just they were diners. And I just couldn't see myself operating a 6 a.m., to whatever p.m. time diner, and just that was not the atmosphere I wanted to be in. So I came up with the Jimmy Z's idea, and I knew that all the schooling I needed and all the development I needed at 19, 20, and 21 was really just going to come from the old man. So my professor was already there.
Yeah.
So it was all about, at that point, being disciplined and getting the funds and working pretty much for all the funds. I didn't take any major bank loans out, but I was able to finagle some funding, through like Home Depot, Lowe's, Chase Picking at that time. They all gave me credit cards, and
okay.
I had credit cards too that I had maxed out, made sure all the payments were made on time, and I ended up basically acquiring like over $13,000 without interest, and I had it paid back between 6 and 12 months after shop opened up.
So it takes a lot of discipline to do that. I mean, people hear something like that, like 13,000. Okay, if I make 500 a week, it's only 26 weeks. It's not that simple. It takes a lot of discipline.
No, yeah. One thing when it comes to money is I have discipline. I still live in the dirt to this day. When it comes to that, I have a beautiful house on the lake, and I drive a great car, but nobody knows that. And I mean, I'm talking about it now, but like, it's not something that I glorify on social media. That's the kind of part about me that I like to keep to myself and to the people that really know me, and there's not a lot of that these days. It's all about like, look what I have. And that leads to everybody, comparing each other to everybody, and, leads to the mental health that we're in today.
Yeah. I feel the same way. I mean, I like stuff. I don't show off a lot of my stuff. I don't, I have a lot of, I guess that's the word, stuff. I don't think I flash it. I use it. I post a lot of stuff on social media, good, bad.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, for me, I'm very fortunate to be where I'm at, and I tell even like anybody that asks me, especially my staff, that I always, love to, at this point now it's coming full circle for me. So, one of our workers, she was trying to build her credit, so I guide her in the right direction on getting the entry level credit card, and she actually texted me last night and goes, "Hey, I got my first credit score and I got a 668," and I'm like, "Wow."
Yeah.
She's not even 20 yet, so.
Well, that's great.
So I tell them, I'm like, and I tell them how I like finagle all my reward points, and at this point, with the amount of revenue that we put on the credit cards through the business, like the cash back is astronomical.
I think I saw one of those ads before. It was like somebody who owned it's a Capital One or whatever.
I have a Spark card, and
it's something like that.
My first year having it got me back $13,000
in cash back.
Yeah,
so that's what the commercial.
So I'm at a point right now where like my spending money is my cash back money, not my paycheck.
That's pretty great.
So it allows me just to continue feeding the business, which I've done. That's all I've done the last we're going on 17 years. We're in the official, under 30 days where we hit 17 years. So I've just completely reinvested. We've completely reinvested. I can't just say it's me and the old man, but and that's what allowed us to get into housing and to get into real estate, and same kickback there. Like I of course take a paycheck at the restaurant, but I don't cut myself a check from any of my real estate properties. Every penny has gotten reinvested. I drove the same vehicle for 11 years, my first 11 years. Okay. I opened up with a 90 Jetta that had bungee cords holding up the bumper. That's how I got my doors open. You don't forget those. Just don't forget that, and I'm very disciplined because of the fact that the family was successful once, and I never, ever in my life, I refused to take one step backwards.
No, I mean that you're saying all the right things, and it's funny how, I see you as of course a business owner of a restaurant, right? And I expected when I talked to you for you to come out and tell me about the plates and the shakes and the other stuff and the other branches you want to open potentially and all this other stuff. But here you are diving into layer 1, 2, and 3 of business.
Sure,
which is super interesting.
A kid last night, I was, we had New Year's Day dessert at my uncle's house, and one of my cousins works at Salvatore's, so he's stuck working a lot of the holidays. So we're in Webster, and we stopped and saw him. He's bartends at the Webster Salvatore's, and there's some friends there. We're all sitting at a table, and the one kid goes, "Oh, you have the hottest place in Brockport," and he goes, "Oh man, you must make a lot of money." And I'm like, I said I turn a lot of smiles, which turns into a lot of money, so I just concentrate on the smiles. And because money is just the byproduct of what the real reason why you're there is. And if you're just there to make money, it's not about it. It's in the beginning, let me pay my bills, let me get like something generating. And money's a big deal then, because you need to make sure your bills are paid, and you need to make sure that everything is taken care of. But once the wheel starts going, it's at this point now, it's damage control. It's, if we can keep everybody happy and I don't have to deal with any complaints at this point, we're making money. and we're making money anyways, but like we're making even more. The residual on that is even stronger because the less complaints you deal with.
Well, less complaints, the better the reputation, the less money you have to spend on advertising. Of course, it's cool to spend money and try to get even more business, but it all rolls into that mindset.
And I have my daily things of what I need to intake. Like everyone wakes up and, they have what they need to start their day. I start my day off with a cup of tea, and I make sure that I get a little bit of, Gary in a day, and,
Gary V. Wait, I got his book right here. I think this is my signed copy.
I spotted the Crush It book. Nice. Nice. You guys met.
We did not meet. I'll tell you how I got it. I was on a plane, and I saw somebody sitting on a plane. If you're listening to this, they were holding up a book like in front of them, like you would do on an airplane. And I look over, and it's a book about marketing. And this book, Crushing It, had just come out, and I was reading it. I had one with me, the book. I was halfway through. So I took a picture of the guy, which is a little creepy, and I tweeted Gary V and I said, "Yo, Gary V, I'm on a plane with this guy reading about marketing. If I give him your Crushing It book that I have for free, if I give it to him and offer it to him, will you send me a signed copy?" He goes, "Do it, done." So I did it, and
it's great. Yeah, and he's great cool. Like that. I've never personally met him. He called me once when I bought the wine, which was really cool. He
called you?
Yeah, it was. I was so starstruck.
Wait, how much wine did you have to buy to call?
The 3-case deal.
What? I was a subscription holder. That's how it works, I guess.
But here's the whole thing. It was right place, right time, man.
Yeah.
I randomly, it was a Monday night. We're watching Monday Night Raw. I randomly I opened up Twitter, and he starts the live video, and he goes, "Hey, nobody had called yet. I was the first caller." Like, I was so nervous. I didn't even know what to ask him. Like, that's how just nervous I was. But the cool thing about Gary is that a lot of the stuff that he preaches is a lot of the framework is the same framework I've been doing the last 17 years. So to hear him do it and to see the journey, and it's just great to know that, like, I've taken a lot of the same strides, putting the money right back, taking small paychecks, going to work every day. I mean, I've worked weekends since I was 12 years old. Like, that's why this is where it is. Like, I started working bussing tables and washing dishes for the old man. Mm-hmm. Not taking a paycheck, because my old man made sure I had my Jordans on.
Right.
My old man made sure, things were where they needed to be. So we were doing what me and my brother were contributing to the family business from 5th and 7th. I was in 5th grade, he was in 7th grade, so which led my brother going into the culinary, which led him into, sommelier, and him and Gary, they know each other from before Gary got big with this, through the wine.
Oh, really?
Because my brother is a wine director. So when I first started following Gary, and I saw follows my brother, and I'm like, what? So it was really cool, to be honest with you. But to hear that, like, the story about his mom knitting the Jets.
Love that story. For people who don't know, you want to explain it?
So when they came to his country, he moved to Jersey, and the first thing he knew was New York Jets, and the crowd he rolled with was Jets. So he's been a Jets fan ever since, and couldn't afford to buy a sweater, so his mom knitted it. So he still has his netted Jets jersey his mom knitted. And to hear that story, and to know that in first grade when I was Hulk Hogan, my mom took a red shirt that we already had. She got a red piece of cloth big enough to cover what was on that shirt already. Got yellow, T-shirt glue, like looking stuff,
like gel or whatever.
Wrote Hulkamania on it, bro.
That's kind of weird.
She knitted my wristbands. She knitted my knee pads. She made me the belt with glue and glitter. You know what I mean? So that's just it. It's like, wow, it's there. It is. You know what I mean? Like, so just to know that I practiced a lot of the same business techniques. I can't do what Gary does. I have I need another restaurant, like I need a hole in my head. You know what I mean?
You mean his energy level? I was going to ask about that.
I have the energy level. I have an issue with putting up boundaries. Like, I take things too personal.
Oh, okay.
And he doesn't. So he in the beginning, he made me want to say, well, I can do that. I can juggle. I can do more. But then it turned to be like, I just want to be happy.
Yeah, the bigger picture of all his messages are
happiness.
That and self-awareness. So you knowing that you can't or don't want to or whatever.
I've come to terms that, we were close a couple times to having a second location. And at the end of the day, you got to go with your gut, and the gut said no, and it's been the best decisions I ever made, and I'm just happy where things are, and I'm happy that we reinvested in real estate, and that all that's panning off for us, and just the portfolio, like just the multiple sources are there, and I'm happy at this point now. I'm just looking to the restaurant is continuing to grow, so I'm just continuing to feed it what it needs. Like you got to give it the right amount of people and the right people and the right amount of time, just like the seed and the sun and the water and the soil in the farm.
A lot of people say that it's hard to find good people to work for you. Sure. and stuff like that. How has it been, especially in a college town, finding good, reliable people to work for you every day?
I'd be honest with you, it could be a lot worse. Having as much family as we have in the restaurant business, I have cousins that own diners, and man, they've owned them longer than I have, and they're in the kitchen and they're on the line and they're cooking, and because they don't have the help, and I don't have that problem, so I really can't complain from that aspect. The kitchen is a little bit different animal than the front counter. We have more people in the front, and we have a younger crowd in the front, mixed with an older crowd. But the back, I have more. I have non-students. So these are people that this is what they do for a living. Where up front, we have some of that too, but we also have a lot of part-time people that are students, and and all that jazz. So
you still have the truck, right?
Yeah.
And when did you decide to? While you were thinking about, hey, should we open another restaurant? Should we make this one bigger? Whatever. What made you land on the decision of the truck? The truck, honestly, I made a joke status on Facebook, because you get it all the time. You put up a photo of something, and honestly, it's a compliment to say, "Oh, delivered to North Carolina, delivered to Delaware, delivered to Vermont." And so, just one morning, it was like I just made this funny status saying that like one day we're gonna get a food truck for to do a Jimmy Z's U.S. tour. Oh my God! And there was like 700 likes on it. We have to talk, because my gears are flying right now, but keep going. Yeah, and it was a joke status, but to see the response that it was for the truck, I saw a light bulb. And the truck for me, I like the idea because when you turn the key, you park it, and it's done. Yeah, that's what I thought it was. And it's not when you unlock a door and you're in a brick and mortar, there's no shutting it when you're done. You know what I mean? Or there's no shutting it when you want to. Yeah. So, but the truck itself, we're a little bit of a different. We have a different outlook with the truck now that we're going to be going into, I believe, our fourth full season. For us, I'm looking more just to get hired. Private events and stuff? Yeah. Parties? I don't have much interest in too much retail, is like what I like to call it. Like competing with other food trucks at like rodeos and stuff? The rodeo, I don't mind. Rodeo, it's nice. The rodeo is the type of environment that I would not have a problem, because it's 3 hours. It's in and out. A 12-hour festival, I have no interest in. An all-day fest, an all-weekend fest, I have no interest in. We're just not designed for that. The number one goal is for the truck itself is just a moving billboard for the shop. Sure. So it just looking good, pays the bills. Yeah. How serious are you about revisiting that traveling idea? I want nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it? I mean, come on. I say we get like 3 to 5 awesome comedians, right? And we do a traveling comedy Jimmy Z's tour. Yeah, I mean, it all sounds fun and everything, but I wouldn't want anything to do with it. And after posting that, I sat there and I thought to myself, like, I would need a tractor trailer just to follow me with product. Oh, that's true. Just a lot of cool stuff. It was just fun, and it was fun, and it had a great response, and it just made sense to do it. We pulled the trigger. We did it. No regrets. Yeah. But it's definitely last year. It was the. It spent the least amount of hours since we got it last year on the road, and because I was just a lot more pickier about what we did and what we didn't do. Mm-hmm. I have something sitting next to me here. There's a bottle with no label on it. Which... That's Papa Z's homemade 2016 vintage rosé. So your dad made this? That's Papa Z's wine, yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So he makes this does he have like a whole sick setup in his basement or something, or a shed?
There's a nice setup. He does that, and he does a little bit of the holy water, he likes to call the moonshine.
Moonshine. Okay.
Yeah, the real moonshine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and I do dabble with the wine, not in the recent times, but I've never been a big moonshine guy.
Yeah, you're on quite the dry run, I guess, if you want to say it like that. I've been listening to a lot of Bill Burr, Theo Von, these comedians.
And you got me on Theo Von. I saw the episode you told me to watch. Haven't watched one since. Funny part was, you just based on the one status I put up, you suggested I should listen to it. And it's funny because there's a couple key points in that podcast that really hit home for me. And without knowing exactly what I was going through, the fact that they hit was like, wow, this is wild.
He's good, man. He's check out Theo Von if you have never heard of him. I'm not gonna put a billboard up for him, but he's so great to listen to, and he does it solo. But anyway, him and Bill Burr is on a big dry run, or a big sober run, I should say. He hasn't had a drink in a little over a year. I think he's going for like 400 days, or his 51st birthday, or 50, whatever.
Sure.
Theo Von is actually in AA, so it's more a serious matter there. I heard another podcast today with Bert Kreischer. He had a guest on that is sober now, and you just told me that you're 340.
Yeah, I'm January 20th will be 1 year for me.
Will be 365. Congratulations, first of all.
Yeah.
And what was, if you don't mind, what was it, a big detrimental moment? You're like, okay, I gotta kick.
No,
this thing.
not at all. It was all for a cleanse. I mean, I'm very blessed that my natural alcohol consumption has only dwindled as I got older.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So honestly, my first time in New Orleans was WrestleMania 30, and that was going to be 6 years in April, which would have made me 32. Okay. I had no interest in getting drunk on Bourbon Street whatsoever.
Really?
Zero interest.
That's one of the top places in the country.
At 32 years of age. So once, for whatever reason, once I hit 30, first couple years, I was drinking some gin. I started gin and soda, and it just turned into gin and the rocks. And
that's how it works.
Yeah, that's usually how it works. But nothing major happened that made me want to stop. It was just the body was rejecting it. It's like, all right, you're done. I've gone to Key West in the last 4 years. I'm going to go again in a couple weeks. In the last 5 years, I've gone to Key West almost 10 times. I have friends out there, one high school buddy, which now I've gotten to know all his buddies, and it's great. I have a Key West family, so I love going there. It's a great atmosphere, nice and chill, nothing flashy, nothing crazy. And I love that's what I love about it.
Right. You don't drink when you're down there?
So I've only gotten wasted a couple times Key West. Even when last time I went, I was in my sober run, but even before that, no ambition to go out and get drunk.
So if you're in that mindset right now, you're in the mindset of going a year, right?
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
Yeah.
If you're in the I can whatever, take it or leave it mindset, what triggers you to be like, all right, tonight's the night. I feel like getting wasted tonight, or to say no? What is there a difference?
You can't do it the plan. It has to go with the flow.
Can't predict it.
Can't predict it. Anything you try to predict, it doesn't work. So the one time I think it was the first night I ever went to Key West, and there was a few other nights in between then that I had too much. But other than that, I'm just not feeling it. I'm not feeling it, and not only that, but I'm clearly, you got to have a vice. So I've always been, I've always been into cannabis. So that always was my vice, and even that for the first time in years that's subsiding on its own too. It's
really?
It's I'm ordering half decaf, half regular coffee. Who am I?
What happens? We talk about booze and drinking and stuff a lot on this podcast because, there are different levels of it. I think a lot of people have a humongous problem, and they really should seek more than just putting the bottle down. They should seek help, talk to somebody. And then there's people like me, I think, where they just wish they would drink less, but they're not ambitious enough to slow down and kind of think that it's all or nothing, and that's the only solution, and that's kind of where I'm at. And there's people like you that are foreign to me, where you're like, I don't feel like doing it much anymore.
I'm telling you, in the last 11 months, I've gone to the bar more to drink club soda and socialize with my people than I did beforehand.
And so when I get drunk, I try to be funny and silly, and maybe the filter comes off a little bit more than it already is, because I have a problem with that too. Sure. What are you just so in love with how your life is?
I never had an issue on how I acted when I was drunk. I got to a point where, honestly, in the last 5 years, the only times I've gone out and next thing I knew I was 10 Bud Lights deep is within the 30 days when I broke up with both my girlfriends.
Okay, that's fair.
And even though they were both breakups that needed to happen, weren't easy anyway. It doesn't matter whether it needs to happen or not. They're just not easy.
Of course, you just go from one way of life to another.
It's not easy at all because like I have a boundary thing when it comes to like letting somebody's feelings seep into mine. You know what I mean? So it wasn't easy regardless the point. But those were like 30 days where like I would go out and it would flow, and it flowed.
Oh yeah.
The flow stopped after 30 days. Like I was hoping, like I was headed to the Keys like a month after that, and I'm like, all right, stay flow, stay. I want to drink 10 beers in Key West.
Yeah, of course.
Just wasn't there. So like it wasn't there.
So like what? Like this is gonna sound like I should be in a meeting, but like what do you look forward to when you go to Key West or when you have a Saturday night off? Like, what do you look forward?
But like I said, I mean, I was always more into cannabis, so like I, would always make sure that like I had that covered. But like I said, over the years, in the recent couple of years, it's slowly. Now, this last month has probably been the least intake. And ever since I've been getting more CBD flower, that's been a nice substitute. And like now, like I'm looking to, not smoke before bed so I can wake up the next day and actually work out and, and not have all that kind of, so I'm just a natural progression, not forcing anything is really what's working for me here.
See, make all these plans. Like last couple of vacations went on, I'm like, all right, let's not buy tickets to this. Like I'm going to California in a couple months, and it just so happens that the one Saturday I'll be there is the 2020 Los Angeles Beer Fest. Right up my alley. But I'm like, how about I just go and look for an Airbnb with a gym in it instead, and maybe try to make a good decision leading up to this vacation so we don't black out by 2 p.m. every day on this vacation.
Well, you are on vacation. First and foremost, I think that there's things, this kind of reminds me of this whole thing of trying to train myself to be able to handle more than I handle and realize that that's not what makes me happy. You need to realize that stopping drinking is not going to make you happy. So, and as long as you don't see like that you have a day-to-day issue with it, I think you're doing just fine. And I think my question that I praise all the people that I know that are older than me and still drink daily and still do it daily. I'm like,
amazing, right?
God bless, man.
They do that and then they handle their business.
Yeah, it's just wild.
See, the last couple of years I've been like, you suck. Like I've a lot of drinking and hangover remorse.
Not a fan of the hangovers. They just get worse. They just get a lot worse. And but I even when I was drinking, I went like I couldn't tell you how long I went without taking a shot. Yeah, you're a different breed though. Do you know that? I'm a different breed.
You know that, right?
I from the get-go, like in many different categories.
Okay,
I will agree
that as long as you get that.
I'm a different breed, and I've always been called unique. Some people were being assholes by it. Some people, but I took it anyway.
It's all just feeling, right? Like feeling. I don't want to drink today. That's it. It's done.
Yeah.
What about like when people are like, come on, dude, just have a shot?
It's honestly, if I don't want it, I don't have to.
You're like, no,
I'm good.
Good.
Yeah.
Thanks,
I mean, if I'm completely okay with going to the bar and ordering club soda for the last 11 months, like I can do anything.
It's fascinating to me. And I don't think I have a humongous problem. I probably drink a little more than I should, but like what you're saying is fat. I wish and hope that I could think like that one day. I don't know what it is.
For me, I've always been the fat kid. I always had to resort to the husky section at JCPenney's.
Yeah, well, you're a family restaurant business, so
yeah. So for me, this is like the healthiest I've been as an adult. Like this is the best weight I've ever had as an adult. I'm a few pounds lighter than I was when we opened up Z's, and that's cool. And that's when I kind of went from a 235-pound kid graduating high school to that summer going on a strict diet, getting down to like 210, and just slowly got it off to where I was down to like 195, somewhere around there, 190, fitting into large t-shirts for the first time in my life, right. Since 13.
Right.
And now I'm back into a large t-shirt, which is great. And
congratulations.
Yeah. So it's just about all health and mindset.
Making good decisions.
I like to. I mean, I put a lot of pressure on myself on a daily basis, which I'm working on, and I'm working on my self-awareness 24/7.
Now, before you said that, you're unlike Gary Vee in a way where you care what people, or what the opinion of people, like that bothers you.
Not so much the opinion. It's more. It's honestly just more of the delegation, and I take things too personal when things don't go right, instead of sitting there and looking at the big picture, like for what I'm really dealing with and what my paycheck is. Hey, this isn't so bad. But I never look at the money. I look at the principle, and I take that principle too serious sometimes.
Okay. All right. I was going to compare that to the peer pressure of drinking, but okay, now I'm glad you cleared that up, because it was.
Yeah, that's the difference with me is and I'm learning to continue to, and not only that, but when you've been so hands-on, and when this is your baby, and like when you know where you came from, and you know that you had it once and lost it, like, dude, like it's tight, man. So the umbilical cord is I've done a very good job over the last couple years of as I've always been taking a couple steps back as far as like hands-on stuff, because now you put, that's what you put people there for, and just continuing to grow. The goal, I have my set goals of how many more people I want to bring in this year, and how I want to slowly back more away from the making every problem my problem, and allowing myself to continue growing the brand and the marketing and stuff that I've tripled down on, and the stuff that I'm really good at.
Dude, I can't tell you how awesome it was to sit here and talk to you for half an hour.
Yeah, well, I appreciate being up here, and I really appreciate you bringing me up and inviting me up.
Yeah, one more time, where can we get those amazing plates, shakes, and more?
Jimmy Z's Plates and Shakes, Brockport, 53 Main Street. Open 7 days a week, midnight or later, 4 a.m. on Friday and Saturday.
I will not drive past it next time. I will stop.
Well, hopefully we'll be there next time you're in town, and wish everybody a happy, successful, and do you 2020, and and don't look back, and that's that.
Dude, thanks, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.